This video is to all of my friends and acquaintances and strangers that live with and suffer from anxiety and panic disorders. There is a huge difference and misconception, I believe, speaking from personal experience, of I have anxiety or I'm having anxious feelings than actually having a mental disorder of intense anxiety. So I've lived with anxiety pretty much most of my life. I remember childhood memories as far back as maybe 6-7 years old. My first full-blown anxiety attack I was 18 or 19, and I thought my body was just shutting down. So when things happen in my life changes, a deeper spiritual connection with myself, along with a full moon, and then this past few days, the whole Mercury retrograde, and then there was that eclipse, I tend to feel things even more intensely. And my anxiety will come when there's absolutely nothing wrong, no underlying things that I can think of, and it hits very hard. So anxiety, I can function day to day. Sometimes when it's heightened, it's a little bit harder. You have to talk yourself through it. But full-blown anxiety attacks is a whole different ball game. So during this, the day before the full moon, my anxiety got incredibly intense to where I was curled up in a ball. And I'm telling you this because I want to share my experience and how it actually feels, right? So it's not like, when people drink too much caffeine and they say, oh, the caffeine's giving me anxiety, or I have anxiety from the caffeine. It's not that, that's not the same. That's caffeine. That's too much caffeine in your body. And anxiety, so let's talk about what happened. So when I have an anxiety attack, when it's really, really bad, you start thinking all of these bad things, right? Like worst case scenarios. There's something wrong with me. I have this disease, I have this. No, it's anxiety. You know it's anxiety. Come on, Kara, talk yourself through it. You're going to be okay. Then it's like shortness of breath. My chest gets really tight. This past anxiety attack, I couldn't think, which was weird. So I have a female and a male dog, and I said something to my female dog, as in I called her a boy something, and I looked at her and I was so confused because I couldn't remember. In that moment of sheer anxiety and terror, is like, wait, is my dog female or male? Like, how do I? And then I started to panic because I'm like, how do I not know this? It's like my brain was gone, just completely gone. And I found myself, I curled up on a ball, into a ball on the floor. Come on, Kara, breathe. You can get through this. It probably lasted about 2.5 hours. That's a lot of self-talk. And I try to focus on things. This was a debilitating anxiety attack. And usually I'm like leaned over the counter, kind of hitting my head against the wall. Not actually hitting my head up against the wall, but just, come on, focus. And just nothing makes sense, right? Everything looks blurry. Everything's scary. And I was curled up in a ball, and I felt I was just begging, please, God, angels, please, take this away. And what is causing it? What is making me feel this way? And I felt immediately it felt like 4 or 5 arms and hands rubbing my back, which was comforting. And then I just had this vision of these big, beautiful, thick, fluffy angel wings being sewn to my back. And they were enveloping me, and I could feel my angelic guides and hear them you're okay, we're with you, everything's okay, everything's fine. But because the anxiety was so intense, that vision that I was having made me panic even more, because then I thought, wait, why do I have angel wings? Am I going to die? Are they taking me to heaven? I'm not ready to go to heaven. I don't want to die. I want to live. I have kids. And I'm like, take them away. So it's this crazy, psychotic, breakdown that you have. And when it's over, when this one was over, I kept telling myself, my God, people go to the jungle and they pay to drink this ayahuasca. To each his own. It's not for me to feel these and get this stuff out. I do it naturally. I don't need any drugs, alcohol, anything. It's the visions and the fear and the getting out this deep, dark, demonic stuff or whatever it is comes, unfortunately, it feels naturally for me. And so it blows my mind when I hear stories of people I know, what they experience when they do this ayahuasca. I'm like, I don't need that. Because that happens to me normally without anything. And yeah, it feels super cleansing afterwards. So anyway, this anxiety, if for those of you that suffer from anxiety, our symptoms, your symptoms are all a little bit varied, but it's so intense and it feels like it's never going to end. And because I've had it my whole life, I know that it's going to stop. I know of it. It's eventually I can talk myself out of it, and I'm going to be okay. And it's like when I'm having it, I can't eat anything. Everything's tightened up. I can't drink anything. I have cotton mouth. I can't speak. So this was 3 days ago. And then the following day, so then I slept okay, wake up the next morning on the day of the full moon, and anxiety was heightened that day, but to where I could still function. And later on in the evening, I had to go back to work, and I'm training a client. Our sessions are about an hour long, and about 5 minutes into the session, I had a full-blown panic attack. And usually I have them when I'm by myself, and I don't want anybody to know, right? It's so fucking scary. It's next level of any anxiety attack. I've had panic before. I haven't had one for a couple of years. A couple of them, I actually drove myself to the hospital because it was so bad. So I can usually eventually talk myself through it. So I did this whole session, about 45-50 minutes of this 1 hour session, talking myself out of panic. Panic is a different ball game. So I know the difference for me when I have a panic attack is my lower abdominals, and like my stomach goes numb. I can't feel it. And then I can't feel my legs. I can't stand. I can't feel them. It's like they're not there. I can sit down and I can't feel my legs. And so I felt that feeling like, okay, here we go. We have a panic attack. And I'm trying to talk myself out of it. Everything looks dark. At the gym where I work, there's a couple black walls and blue walls, and normally nothing affects me. And they just started caving in. And it's this feeling of impending doom. And so I'm still trying to hide it, trying to talk myself through it. And my client asked me a simple question. My son's car, somebody backed into it. So we had to take it to a shop and get a rental. So my client simply asked, what happened with your son's truck? And my answer, I was trying to say, oh, I dropped it off at the shop. They gave us a rental. All is good. It'll be fixed and good as new. I couldn't say that. It is the simplest sentence. I couldn't say it. Then I started to panic because I couldn't speak, and I've never had that happen before during a panic attack. I couldn't get the words out, and I was like, and then I was like, next set, right? Next set. And I had her do her next set, and I was like, oh my God. At that point, I texted my mom, and I asked my parents to come by my house and drop a half of an anxiety medication off. Like, it was that bad. When I call for an emergency with my mom and dad, it's bad. So if you've had panic attacks, it's like you are 100% convinced you're dying and something bad is going to happen and you're going to faint. And at some point in the session, my coach had been there, so I texted him. I said, I can't feel my legs or my stomach. And I don't think he knew. He was like, what? And I'm like, okay, just focus on the people. Focusing on my client was, I was like, count, you know what you're doing for work. Just count her reps, look at her feet, make sure everything's perfect, make sure, like, anything you can to take your mind off of it. And the whole time in the back of my mind, it's like, you're not dying here, you're not dying, nothing's wrong. What if something's wrong? Why do you feel this way? You're super healthy. Is it because you just turned 44? Are you getting old? Is this not panic? Is something really internally wrong? Do you need to call 911? I mean, it sounds like, and this is a very, I'm not elaborating on everything that I felt and was saying in my head, but it's for somebody that doesn't have it, it's like, oh geez, she's fucking nuts. But it's these feelings and it's impending doom, and you're gonna die. Like, you are literally going to drop dead of a heart attack, have a stroke, something. You are so convinced that that's going to happen. But in the back of your mind, no, Kara, this is panic. It's panic. Just come on. You can talk yourself down. You can talk yourself down. And eventually you have to tell yourself, this isn't real. This isn't real. And the first thing I do, because I know my telltale sign, is when my stomach goes numb and my legs go numb. Here we go, Kara, here's panic. And it can last forever. One of the times I wound up in the hospital was my blood pressure. It was 188 over 160. And that's where my dad was like, yeah, we might need to go get you checked. And I didn't know they were panic attacks at the time. You know, I'm kind of getting off subject, but luckily the doctor that had seen me, that did tested everything, your level, everything's good, right? You're super healthy. And he said to me, you know, have you had anything traumatic happen recently? And this was a few years ago. This was back in 2020. And I said, yes. And that particular thing was, it was something very traumatic. And he said, you're having panic attacks. And he gave me, you know, the holistic approach, which I loved, instead of trying to dope me up on medication. So anyway, my point of this is suffering from panic and anxiety disorder is a terrible thing that we have to live with. There are coping mechanisms that help. If my anxiety is not too bad, I have found that going somewhere in nature, once I can drive and like, okay, you're safe behind the wheel, Kara, like, and then when I'm behind the wheel, it's like, okay, I shouldn't be out here. I shouldn't be out here. I shouldn't be driving. To take myself in nature, anywhere that there's water, something that completely takes my mind off of everything. And, but when you're at home, some quick things you can do, especially if it's really heightened anxiety and panic, is stick your hands and your feet in a bowl of ice water. Like, get a baking dish, something out of your kitchen, throw some ice in it, throw some water, and immediately just stick your feet in it. Stick your hands in it. And that actually starts alleviating the symptoms fairly quickly. The last time I did that with a panic attack, it was hard for me to function and go in the kitchen to do these things and breathe and breathe and breathe. But once I did it, I swear within 2 minutes, my panic was brought down to anxiety. And anxiety, I know, I understand, and I can talk myself down from that easy. And then from there, it's practicing your breathing. And when you're so focused on taking longer, deeper breaths in your breath work, you start letting go of everything else. And before you know it, the anxiety starts dissipating. And also acknowledging. So when you have panic, when you have anxiety, for me, I'll touch my stomach and I'm like, I feel you. I know you're there. What are you trying to tell me? What is it that you're trying to tell me, and why am I feeling this way, right? So example, this last time it happened, nothing bad has happened, but I want to transition through things in my life, what I'm doing with my career and where I want to go and what my passion truly is. It's not personal training. When I sold my gym, I was done with it and I kind of just fell back into it. It's more of the sound, the breath, holistic, natural healing methods and life coaching is where my passion is. But through those transitional phases, it's like, it's scary because it's like, I want to do this, but you know, I love my clients and I enjoy doing what I'm doing, but it's not fulfilling me. And the change to that for me can be, or for anybody, you know, whatever your changes are, can be pretty scary at times. And like I said, nothing bad has to happen for you to have anxiety and panic, but there are multiple things that you can do to subside them. So rambling on, I have to take care of something right now, but I just want to say to everybody that suffers from anxiety and panic, drop a comment, reach out to me, let me know what you do to help cope with yours outside of taking medication, because there are so many holistic routes you can do. Oils, anxiety oils, breathing, warm baths, ice baths, sticking your limbs in your hands and your feet in ice water and reaching out to somebody, because you are definitely not alone, because a lot of us suffer from these things. And the more you enhance your quality of life, the less chances you'll have to have more increased anxiety. So when you are having them more frequently, there's usually a reason behind it. Some underlying causes of things going on in your life, in your mind, in your heart, of what you want to do, maybe where you want to be, how you want to live, your home life. If you're a mom, parenting, that can cause anxiety. My boys are getting older and it's hard being a single mom. So many things. There's so many things in this world, right? So remember to breathe. Stick your hands and feet in ice and reach out to somebody, because you are never alone, and you can get through all of your anxiety, all of your panic, and live a healthier, better quality of life. If you enjoyed this or even made it to the end, please subscribe, like, share, comment. I will respond to all of the messages when I see them, and hope you enjoy.